welcome to another British information film.
Today, we will be teaching you about other types of social justice class that you can be, other than a social justice warrior.
Many people have chosen the warrior class when choosing to be into social justice. However, there are many options available. For instance,
Many people should be informed that social justice bards are an option. You can write songs about being a nice person, and those songs can be very useful in influencing social justice opinions within society.
indeed, it is an option that Billy Bragg chose many years ago. Furthermore, you could choose another type of class. For example, you could be a social justice barbarian, such as many Antifa.
Indeed, hit things very hard with a heavy object in order to deliver social justice.
Yes, especially if those things happen to be Nazis.
Indeed, hit Nazis with heavy objects in order to deliver social justice. You could also become a social justice wizard. While you may be quite squishy, you can sort out social justice issues over a ranged distance using a variety of different elemental types. Fire, electricity, or water can all be used by a social justice wizard to improve social attitudes.
Indeed, and if you're looking for alternatives, there is new additional classes of social justice types that you could be if you purchase Volo's Guide.
Indeed. So, now that you know, don't be limited to a social justice warrior. Look at the full list of class types when deciding which kind of social justice character you would like to be in the world. Thank you. This has been a PSA about social justice classes.
Another bottle of sherry, Jives.
Oh, goodness, I could definitely do with more sherry.
Oh, yes. Oh, the sun's out, dear.
Oh, it's wonderful out. I've just been reminiscing about the good old days.
Oh, yes.
Wild, rambunctious youth. Do you remember the days?
Oh, I remember them. Oh, we got up to such larks.
Oh, goodness, I remember one very, very drunken day on some sherry. Forgive me for this. This is a rather tantalizing story. I went out and I bought a football and I used it on a grass park where they said no ball games on the park.
Goodness dear, you're such a rebel.
Oh, I know. I was the talk of the town that day. I absolutely ruined the aesthetic of the town green.
I can imagine. Not least because a young lady is in such an our youth.
Oh, I know. Back in the day, we were forbidden from sport. We weren't supposed to even walk too fast.
Well, indeed, and certainly the idea of a young woman running or using her feet in any way. Men didn't even know that we had feet.
Oh, indeed, I believe.
Such were our dresses so far down.
I believe the belief at the time was that if we moved too fast, all of our femininity would just fall off. It just all fall off.
Yes. I once went out with only 6 petticoats on.
Only 6 petticoats? Oh, goodness.
I know. My mother was outraged.
I imagine she called you some kind of a harlot. You were scarcely dressed at that point. You might as well have gone out nude.
Exactly. Apparently the pastor couldn't keep his eyes averted.
Oh, goodness. You know what I did? You know what I did back in my youth?
Oh, do tell me.
Oh, I went out for a dinner with a gentleman. And I insisted on paying the bill.
Who did what, dear? Just because we come from money.
Well, here's the thing. I felt that I should pay my fair share and that we should have an equitable partnership. But apparently this was just not the done thing at the time.
Must have felt absolutely emasculated. Well done, dear.
Oh, goodness, yes. It gave me a taste of power.
Oh, I can quite imagine.
Oh, goodness. Is there anything else you got up to in your youth you wish to embroil me with tales of?
Well, I used to engage in some saucy embroidery. I once embroidered a picture of myself in a very scandalous swimming suit.
Oh, goodness. Were your knees exposed?
Well, not quite that saucy. Dial it back, dear. But there was certainly an ankle visible.
Oh, goodness. Well, that is still. Wait, was that an outdoor one?
It was a picture of myself embroidered that I'd done of myself at the beach, and you could very clearly see a bit of ankle. I put that in specially. No,
Oh, goodness, I have...
have another sherry.
Oh, goodness, I have one more sherry, right. I've got one more story. I think this is the wildest one I've got for you today.
Yes.
Right. So, this is back in the day.
Yes.
And don't be telling anyone I did this because obviously there would be a scandal. Even
Oh yes. Do tell them.
I got a job. Oh, I know, dear. I got a job.
How did you manage that?
Well, you'll see. I had to disguise myself. I put on a fake moustache and some trousers of all things. I got a job in a
Trousers?
Yes, indeed, I got a job in a bakery.
You can see what your legs are doing.
I know they could see that I had two individual legs and not just like a mysterious like floatingness that magically carried me around. And I got a job in a bakery, which is how I could afford later on to do that thing I was telling you about how I paid for the gentleman's dinner.
Goodness gracious, I imagine you would have talk with a turner if anyone had found out.
Well, I have no idea. What a wild
Probably
youth.
have been arrested.
Indeed. Well, what a wild youth we've had.
Yes. Children today will never understand.
Oh, they'll never understand what with their quiet life of video games and drug taking. They don't understand what it's like to be a real party animal.
Exactly. Well, how about some port to go with your sherry now?
It'll set me off for the night.
Yes. Yes. So, how is the game coming along? We've obviously we paid you quite a lot of money. You've been developing it for a good 8 months now. We're just wondering if you have like a demo or even one of those vertical slices that are available to have a look at.
Yes, you'll be glad to know that I'm actually complete with creating the homeopathic version of your game.
It's all complete, ready to play.
Yes, the homeopathic version of your game is complete. Here you go. Here's the compiled homeopathic game code.
Okay, now you've said this a few times. I am a little bit the homeopathic version is that like a prototype or a demo?
Were you not aware of this when you looked over my resume? I am a homeopathic computer programmer. I create homeopathic computer code. As we learn in homeopathy, less is more, and as such, here is your game code.
Right. So let's see if it will fire up. I seem to be getting an entirely blank screen. Do you know if there's a problem with that? Or...
Well, the way that homeopathy works is that you need to believe it's going to work, otherwise it doesn't work. So I think the problem here is less about my code. I think it's more about your lack of belief in the code's ability to work, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, perhaps I could have a look at the source code. Get a look at.
Oh, of course. Here you go. Here is the code.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of blank comment lines. Scrolling. There's a lot of these lines.
Well, it might take you a while to get through it. So the way that homeopathy works is that we work on a less is more approach, and as such, we've gone for the strongest possible coding ratio that we could think to go with, which was 7 parts per million. So we've got 7 lines of code, but they're, diluted down by a million comment lines in order to dilute it so that it becomes stronger, you see. Like, the more diluted it is, the stronger it is.
You've had £60,000 and you've produced 7 lines of written code in 6 months.
And a million comment lines that dilute it to make it stronger. Don't overwrite my work. Don't, downplay the work I do. I've created the strongest bit of gaming code you've ever seen.
This is supposed to be out next month.
Indeed, and it's ready to release as it currently is.
Okay, let's see the artwork for the box then.
Well, you didn't say you wanted artwork.
Okay, we'll call up that homeopathic artist and see what they've come up with.
Homeopathy is shit.
Have you heard, like, people talk about, like, lizard people running the world and stuff? But that's not true, that's all lies.
Oh no, what is it then? What's the truth?
Well, like, when people are talking about lizards, it's really just, like, a dog whistle for anti-Semitism, and that shit is not cool. However, the truth is, there is a shadowy cabal of penguins running out of Siberia.
That makes so much sense as to why all the politicians in the world are, like, so cold. Because, like, unfeeling, but also cold because they're penguins. It makes so much sense.
It's true, and anytime you see a politician with their egg on their feet, now you know what it's about.
Oh no, what that's about now? Oh, you heard that other thing. What is like really true is you know how like they're trying to the government are trying to control people's minds. Not through like chemicals in the water like people say and stuff.
No,
it's not that. It's by playing really catchy pop tunes that just happen to have in their metadata instructions on what we should do. Because no one checks the metadata.
That's the four-chord conspiracy.
Yeah, no one checks the metadata, do they?
No. People don't know about that stuff. But, it's really important that we spread the word. We've got to get this out. Yeah, like, have you heard that people are also being controlled? Like, they're being shepherded into dangerous ideas, all by big Bluetooth. Secretly controlling people's minds.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like no one uses like Bluetooth much no more, which is why everyone overlooked it in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, everyone's all about that.
That's why
Wi-Fi.
the iPods took all the 3.5mm jacks out.
So it
it's
can
a
force
conspiracy
you
by big Bluetooth.
That's so on point. You heard this other one about how the world is flat. What?
That is bullshit. World is flat. It's not even level. Like, look out of your window. No, there's buildings and stuff and trees and pointy up bits. If you stand on a hill, you can see the curvature of the earth.
Sorry.
How could you possibly believe that?
I don't know.
That's nonsense.
I don't know. I feel like a bit of a prat now. We'll get back to some proper realistic stuff then. You heard how secretly the pyramids are actually like communication towers for space. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that one.
That's some realistic stuff, not like that foolish idea what I had about the Earth being flat or
flat Earth. Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous. But yeah, definitely like the pyramids are secretly made of gateau. They're used for communicating with people in space. Anyway, have a bang on this.
Oh, that's good.
It's good, yeah. The year is 2397.
Hello and welcome to Antiquities Drive-By. I am Blake Knoll, expert in human antiques. Joining me today is a collector of 20th and 21st century gaming merchandise. Just tell me a little about the things you brought along today.
Hello. Well, I brought along a series of things that were donated by my great grandmother, who was quite the avid gamer in the early the 2000s, so a good 300-400 years ago, and I believe that these are some of the more sought after aspects of video gaming. I think from what I understand, they're very representative of what video games were many hundreds of years ago. So should I just start showing you some of the things I've brought?
Oh yes, please tell us about this first item.
So this first item is some kind of wristwear device that you could slot in a very primitive mobile phone into that. I believe it was supposed to be something from the Fallout games. I believe. You wouldn't happen to know a little more about this particular oddity, would you?
This is the famous Pip-Boy, piece of, well, these days we'd probably just call it plasticky tat. It was very, very popular. A lot of people deeply sought after it. It came with, I believe it was one of the very first Fallouts, of course. Fallout 15 came out last year. They really have slowed down a little bit on the manufacture of those, but still coming and still buggy as fuck. Yes, this was basically a piece of brown resin that barely fit on most people's arms, led to a lot of disappointment, but was very much sought after amongst a certain type of collector. Of course, many of these things were burned during the Third and Fourth World Wars, but this one clearly now a collector's item. After not being a collector's item for a while, it has now come back into vogue about 400 years later. Probably worth about $60 pounds by today's money.
Oh, wonderful. And the next we have is I'm going to admit it's a slightly strange item. It appears to be a slightly squishy female torso with a lot of fake blood on it. That yeah, I've always wondered. Apparently this was very sought after, but obviously the few hundred years separated, I struggle to understand what the appeal was. It's just a torso. The head and arms appear to have been removed, and it's just wearing an circa 2000s style American flag before the huge redesign to the world flag.
Yes, it's particularly a tasteless item. It features a decapitated and dismembered female-presenting body in either a US, or I believe they did a UK version before as you say, the world flag was introduced, and indeed the bra, the clothing there, this was to celebrate the release of one of the Dead Island games. It featured zombies. This is, of course, when zombies were still considered sort of cartoonish, ghoulish horror entertainment, before, of course, the genuine rise of the zombie plague shortly after World War III. It's become in pretty poor taste these days, and no one quite understands exactly why this horrifying item is considered worthy of purchase, unless, of course, this is the sort of morals of the time. People very much just valued women for bits of their bodies and not them as whole people and personalities and so forth.
I'm very glad that we've gone past that now that we are in the year 2397. The last item I have is this strange mask, which I had no idea was anything to do with video games, but I'm assured is apparently something to do with video games.
Oh, an absolutely stunning find. Many of these were produced, not many of them survived. They were actually strangely quite fragile, and obviously a lot of people trying to fit them on their face, they would get caught in people's neck beards and trapped and would tear away large chunks of face in some cases. Strange clockwork design and a very unusual look, as it is from the Dishonored games. I believe this was from the first. There was a similar mask released for the second game. I don't suppose you have the full collection of both in with you?
No, unfortunately, I only have the one. These are the only items that have survived from the collection, unfortunately.
Well, it's a terrible shame, of course. So few of them have survived as a bit of repair. They sit quite nicely on a mantle, obviously once you've taken out the chunks of beard and flesh. But yes, this is Corvo's mask from the first Dishonored game, one of the more well put together items that you will find from these digital deluxe versions of games. But yes, well, thank you so much for bringing us on to the Antiquities Drive-By. I think probably for this full collection, if you were looking to sell, this would probably fetch somewhere in the region of $500 or $600 by today's money, but certainly a very nice collection.
Well, considering that we now live in a society where everyone has universal basic income and as such, the money itself is not required for getting by. That's actually that's all entirely money I can just spend on myself, I suppose. So yes, that sounds wonderful. I think it's probably best in the hands of a collector that understands a little more of the history of them. Thank you very much. Oh goodness dear, have you seen this one over here?
This is a very fine piece of art.
Oh,
I've not seen anything quite like it before. It's very bold, very visceral, certainly something that requires quite a lot of consideration. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's a very bold choice to have done the entire thing in a single shade of colour, to have just used this one shade of brown and to have tried to convey the entire work just by the the intensity or the lack of in the piece, but contrasted with the negative space where they haven't applied any colour.
Yes, it's very, very, very well considered there. I think you can tell a lot about the personality of the artist, but obviously a very troubled soul, overcome in some ways. It feels like it's reaching out into the world and just throwing us out there in a very, very evocative manner.
Oh, indeed, it certainly gives across this sort of sense that it was just sort of like thrown into action. It gives a sense of movement and direction that just really gives a sense of the sort of angle at which the art came into being.
Excuse me. I've got to put out a wet floor sign here. Someone spilt this coffee. I'll just be a moment here.
Of course, I was just being sarcastic. I definitely knew from the beginning this wasn't art. I was just seeing if you knew.
Of course, yes, I wouldn't. Yes,
I'm glad neither of us thought this was art. Definitely not.
No, not.
No.
Now, this item over here, this sort of white box on the wall, it's very, very simplistic. Clearly a sort of cubey
I've
style.
got to turn the lights off. Do you mind if I get to that switch, please? Thank you.